Hello all sentient beings and welcome to TransMissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to thee. This week on Alt Mode, Jason Kirk joins us for a review of Optimus Prime number 12. And we have updates on Machinima's new Titans Return series. We have all this and so much more on this episode of TransMissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to TransMissions Alt Mode, the podcast that makes the same mistakes again and again. I'm your host, Jeremy, aka Yakko, and I'm joined by one of the excellent Transmissions team, Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hey, let's talk Transformers.
And we are, again, without Yoshi or Charles this week. Both had prior engagements. So we welcome our resident podvocate, Jason Kirk. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on yet again. It's getting to be a regular thing. I'm feeling kind of special right now.
Yeah, it's almost like every time you're on the toy show, you get to be on the Alt Mode show.
You know, I kind of did sense a pattern, but I wasn't sure if I was the only one or not. So I'm glad to know that it seems to be holding true.
All right. Well, let's get the show started with some Donatreon business. As Daryl mentioned on the toy show this week, our Patreon Nick suggested that we announce when people have an anniversary on our Patreon supporting. So we're starting with October, and we have these people that they joined a year ago in October. We have Dale, Paul, Chad, Sergio, Chris, and Jay. And thanks to all of you guys for what you've been doing over the last year. And, you know, we look forward to announcing each month the people that have donated in that month over the past year and then, you know, future years too. And we also had an increase of a pledge by Dominic, our German listener. And as we mentioned in the last show, he helped a number of listeners that are in our Discord to get the TF Nation comic. And that's just awesome. And the last bit of Donatreon business we have the new Declassified show, and episode number 3 is imminent. It is about conventions, talking about the past of Transformers conventions and looking towards the future. And joining us was Ben Yee of BWTF.com and Aaron of WTF at TFW. And we had a great conversation. It was, I thought, one of the better shows we've done even on Transmissions, and the full show is going to be available to people at any level on our Patreon. And then, you know, once we hit 100 patrons, it will be available to everybody. Now let's get on to some comic news. So we only have one thing this week in comic news. It is a clean version of Optimus Prime number 14's cover C. And this says the artist is Ed Griffith. Is that?
No, it's Artist Edition, Andrew Griffith.
Oh, Artist Edition. Okay, I was like, who's Ed Griffith? We know Andrew Griffith.
It's Andrew's twin brother that we do nothing about.
It's also a very talented artist.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we've seen. I think Alex has an Artist Edition on Lost Light same month. So this is Andrew Griffith's, and it has Trypticon battling. Looks like the Dinobots. It looks amazing. I love these Artist Edition books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Andrew Griffith and Alex Milne. There's just there's no words to describe their talent on stuff like this. I miss the fact these guys aren't on their respective books anymore. Although it's nice to see them every once in a while, like, say, I don't know, on certain issues of Optimus Prime.
Well, yeah, like the one we're about to talk about.
I think so.
So I guess we will get on to the comic review. We're doing Optimus Prime number 12. Transmissions wouldn't be what it is today without the awesome support of our listeners. If you'd like to support our shows and enjoy the exclusive benefits that our donors get, please visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. This week in our comic review, we have Optimus Prime number 12, written by John Barber, art by Andrew Griffith, colors by Josh Burcham, letters by Tom B. Long, editors Carlos Guzman, and publisher is Ted Adams. We have 4 covers. The retail is, or I guess cover A as they're doing it now. It is a broken image as Optimus, Prowl, and Aileron are standing back to back to back. I believe I might have seen RC, I'm not sure. That might just be part of Prowl. But this is done by Kazama and Josh Burcham. Cover B is Jazz. He's cornered in an alley with a lot of guns pointed at him. And this is by Casey Collar and Jean-Paul Beauvais. And cover C is Thundercracker and Buster in space. And that is by Andrew Griffith and Josh Perez. And then the retailer incentive cover is the new authentic look Transformers are facing off against Megatron and what looks like Soundwave and Starscream. And this is part of a joining set of covers by Joanna LaFuente. So we'll start with you, Jason. Which one of these did you like?
Okay, so this is tough because the K cover is freaking gorgeous. Anytime Andrew Griffith comes back and does a cover, especially of Thundercracker and Buster, I love it. And Joanna made that's a beautiful cover too. But I think I gotta give it to Casey Collier just because of how off Jazz looked in the last issue. That's not the only reason, but to see, just a great looking authentic Jazz on this cover and, the action of it and everything. And also I was there at TFCon when Casey gave Yoshi his sketch cover, and him and I just kind of stared at it for like 10 seconds and speechless. So the talent that Casey has is just ridiculous. So I'm gonna give the nod to Casey on this one.
None of them are really calling out to me this time, although I like the playfulness in the Griffith one with the Buster in space. It's fun. And when I read the part in the book when they're flying around in space, I was like, that's fun. He's got the dog and, in space. When would a dog get the chance to be out in space? So
early on in the space program, and it didn't end up very well.
No, it didn't.
That's true.
So yeah. So I probably go with Andrews. I just like the fun of it.
Cool. Yeah, I agree that I like them all for one reason or another. I think I would just give Andrews the nod just because he's the interior artist, and we get him so rarely now on issues that, I would like to match up the cover with the interior artist. Although I will say, nice on the RI cover not having the background under the logo.
Yeah, there you go.
So points to Tom B. Long there. Into the summary of the book. This is Primeless Part 2. A Thundercracker and Buster in a spiffy spacesuit have flown to Sanctuary Station. They're greeted by Cosmos, Laserbeak, and Buzzsaw, and Thundercracker says that he was there to make sure everyone was okay given the situation on Cybertron, but he also realizes it was just to give him something to do. Cosmos checks on the status and sees that 2 shuttles are out, but he can't find who took one of them. Slugslinger isn't saying who took it, and we have another page of Bot on the Street interviews. Slugslinger doesn't trust the Autobots. Cosmos just wants everyone to be equal. Needlenose is worried about his brother on Cybertron, and Skybright writes a poem. Hope for tomorrow, human explosions bursting, a new war again. That's deep. On Earth, Jazz is surrounded by humans with the stolen EDC weapons. Looking on from the roof of a nearby building, Aileron tells the colonists to save Jazz and disarm the humans, but not to kill them. Jazz is surprised to see the colonists and wonders where Optimus is. Aileron is worried about her team. Half of them want to take revenge on the humans and half of them want to protect them. The humans aren't making it easy for either group. When the dust settles, Jazz again wonders where Prime is. Aileron explains the situation on Cybertron, and Jazz is shocked that they're not coming after the guns. They're just after him. He walks towards a pipe where a human is hiding, and he scares the human into telling them where the guns came from. He said some real 90s guys sold them. In another Man on the Street page, humans with some of the guns all talk about how they're ready to fight the aliens. The only one with any training is Lori Ha, formerly of Skywatch, but even she doesn't trust the government or the UN. Jazz has the humans show him where he got the guns, and they cross the border into the US. Jazz lets the human out as they get to the 90s guys. Surrounding them, Jazz determines that they have not walked the path of the righteous man and steps on the 2 humans. He had figured out that they were just holograms created by Rumble and Frenzy. The 2 bots try to make a getaway, but Aileron stops them. They reveal that they've been stealing weapons from Sanctuary Station and selling them for months. She has Midnight Express load up as much as she can carry and takes it to the stolen shuttle Rumble and Frenzy used. With that settled, Jazz again asks Aileron about Optimus. He's upset to finally realize that Optimus left him on his own and didn't come after him. Aileron tries to explain that he's the Prime and he has his reasons, but to Jazz, he's just Orion Pax. Left with Rumble and Frenzy to deal with, Aileron is at a loss as to what to do. As Decepticons, do they fall under Autobot rules? For their part, Rumble and Frenzy say Soundwave has jurisdiction over them, and they would hate to be the cause of a new civil war if Autobots start imposing their rule over them. Okay, not really. Aileron starts to say that they'll wait until Optimus comes back, but Jazz interrupts and says nothing will change. He then walks off on his own again. In the final Bot on the Street page, we have the colonists talking about Prime and their thoughts on the Primes in general. And at the end, the colonists have taken the stolen shuttle back to Autobot City, and they find out that Jetfire has lost contact with Soundwave. Aileron tells him that they found the source of the stolen weapons, and he's left to deal with it as she's tired and is hitting the recharge lab. So that is the end of the issue. We have Andrew back on art, but it looks like he's trying to mimic Kay's style. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I feel that that's too bad because I was looking forward to seeing his crisp lines and what we're used to. But I mean, I like Kay's art and he did a good job, I feel. But I would prefer to have seen his own style. Really, after last issue, just having a single artist is a welcome change.
Yeah, really.
What do you guys, have any comments on the art?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that he was still trying to maintain Kay's style, but I mean, given how, I don't know, you can definitely see Andrew's, style in there as well. So it was a nice mix between the two for sure, I thought. But yeah, I mean, it's, he was doing those thicker lines that Kay likes to do and stuff like that, but it definitely works. And yes, like you said, thank God there was only one freaking artist on this issue. That was not enjoyable last time.
Daryl?
Well, yeah, I agree. The Andrew's art is definitely, it's a nice change, but I agree that it would have been nice to see his art just do his own style. As far as the story goes, though, I don't know what the hell happened in this book. Like, they went and they found Jazz. They argued with him. They wanted him to come back. He didn't. He's all sour. He's got his panties in a bunch about Optimus. Optimus should have come and found me. Why are you here? Aileron says he's too busy to come and find him, and Jazz is all pissy that he wouldn't, that Optimus isn't there. All the while, they found all these guns that had been given out by Rumble and Frenzy using John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction to disperse them amongst the humans. So they able to get these guns off the street, but yet I don't get what the hell the story was about here. Was the entire story about Pissy Pants Jazz? I hope I've missed something because I don't get this book.
I mean, the title of the storyline is Primeless, and I think that's what we're supposed to be seeing is the dealing of things without Prime, also on the more kind of mystical level of the Primes themselves, because like people are being disillusioned because even Optimus doesn't believe that he's anything particularly special.
Right. Well, Prime has been gone for what?
At this point, probably days.
Days. Like you're
Yeah.
saying these guys cannot function without Optimus Prime for a matter of hours?
Well, yeah, but remember, Jazz has been on his own since the series started.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Jazz has been on his own for longer.
if I remember correctly, anytime he's been brought up, Optimus has just kind of waved it away like, well, Jazz is fine. Like, Prime has been so obsessed with getting Earth into the Council and doing it in a way where pretty much the whole Council isn't okay with it, but he did what he had to do to make it happen. Like, Prime is neglecting a lot of the, I guess friendships and a lot of the relationships he's had. He's in this weird place. He's dealing with,
You're right. I get what's going on with right.
yeah,
But,
Jazz is just upset because
Jazz is
he was
upset because
forgotten.
he hasn't been able to find, Prime hasn't come to find him.
Jazz is one of Prime's oldest friends.
Right. So as you know, with human friends, friendship goes both ways. If Jazz is being a stick in the mud about Prime not coming to find him, maybe Jazz should go and find Prime. That's
I think Prime is trying to play the political game, and with Jazz basically being a fugitive at this point, it's not politically feasible for Prime to do anything.
Yeah,
To be seen as helping a fugitive.
that's a good point.
And Jazz doesn't see it that way. Jazz is like, why is my friend not trying to help me? So, I mean, I think that's where you see the gap.
Yeah, and plus Jazz is trying to hunt down the weapons, so he is doing a duty. Right. He's just not getting the support that he would expect from someone who's been there, who he's been with. Because I think even in the IDW, I mean, Jazz was still pretty much second in command, IDW wise too. I think. I'm not Charles. Sorry.
I think it was Prowl for a while, but I think.
Well, yeah.
I think it had been Jazz, but at this point, I think Aileron is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
the group on Earth.
Or Soundwave.
Yeah, but I mean, he's gone. Yeah, I mean, I see. I mean, I kind of like what they're doing, where you're going to have this conflict between Jazz and Optimus. When Prime eventually does come back.
Probably.
What do you guys think about the whole Rumble and Frenzy thing?
Well,
that ties in with the Thundercracker bit at the beginning.
Well, now I'm hungry for a Big Mac in France. I could use one of those.
You mean a quarter pounder?
Oh, it is a quarter pounder, isn't it? God, stupid. Nah.
A Royale with cheese.
Yeah, quarter pounder. Thank you, Daryl. You corrected me. Now I feel stupid.
I thought the little sight gag of the whole real 90s guys, and then you turn the page and you see guys from Pulp Fiction.
Well, until I realized they were holograms, I kind of hated it. I was like, why is this a choice we're making? But then the hologram thing, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
So, I mean, that's obviously going to come back with the Decepticons on Sanctuary Station, and, it's supposed to be a peaceful colony, and, Rumble and Frenzy are being troublemakers. What side is Soundwave going to take? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, Rumble and Frenzy are always troublemakers, so this shouldn't be news.
Yeah, I mean, their characters haven't really changed much, but Soundwave has dramatically.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I think the fact that Soundwave has changed so much that, because I think at one point one of them even says, "Oh, I'll throw myself at Soundwave's mercy," like, no big deal. But yeah, this could be. Maybe this is one of the moments that they would take the chance for, maybe, who knows, maybe Soundwave just blows them both away. It's like, sorry, we don't do that anymore. So that would be an extreme way to do it. But, I mean, they seem to think it's not going to be a big deal if Soundwave, is the one to pass judgment on them. And maybe they should be thinking otherwise.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to bring up on the story side was those man on the street or bot on the street pages.
Yeah.
It made a little bit of sense in the last issue. But I think in this one, it just kind of breaks up the action.
Well, I read the first one as almost like, instead of it being man on the street, like it was reality show almost. Where like they do the cast interviews.
Like the interviews, yeah.
Right, and there was, I mean, yeah, I did enjoy Skybite's poem, but Needle Nose is talking about like worrying about his brother, Sunstreaker and stuff, and not wanting to start another war. Wasn't Needle Nose one of the Decepticons who came to Earth for Galvatron to try to start the war again?
Yeah.
So what? And he didn't care about, or no, Trax. I'm sorry, Trax is his brother. My bad. He didn't seem too worried about Trax when he got shot, and he kicked him and stuff. So I don't understand what changed there. That seems weird. So, although I was happy I was able to identify Slugslinger before I saw it was Slugslinger. So I felt happy about that. So yeah, I don't like the man. I hope that ends with this storyline. I'm not a fan.
I'm afraid that it's going to be throughout the entire arc.
Well, they only started in the last issue, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, the whole arc. Yeah, that's what I mean, I wish it wouldn't, but yeah, I would agree with you. You're probably right.
What do you think, Daryl?
I'm over them. I don't particularly like them. I mean, on one hand, it introduces me to characters I'm not overly familiar with, so I get to. It's an easier way for me to get like names of characters, so I don't have to worry about like who's that guy or who's that. But it was more entertaining in the last one, in the last issue. This one, the first one, I think is you're talking to a bunch of, or I think it might be the second one, where they're talking to the humans and you realize how bloodthirsty they all are.
And that one got a little bit too political to me.
Yeah.
It seemed to hit a lot of like real world kind of points. And I'm like, I don't really want that in my Transformers book.
Well, you're getting in pretty much every comic book right now, so
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
And then, and right after that second one of them is in the car with Jazz. Like, did he kidnap one of them? And we did.
He was one of the people from
Well,
the.
he had the gun, right? He was.
Mexico City.
He had the turret in the back of the car. So he just he took one of them for.
No, he told him he was coming with them, so because he was going to show them where he got the guns from.
Yeah, so I didn't think it was said. So yeah, so I just kind of I assume that that's what he was doing, but it didn't seem like it was said. But I don't know, the story just didn't seem to flow very very well for me. I don't know, it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, like I'm not going to argue that these are the best books we've gotten out of Optimus Prime so far. I don't mind them that much, but I mean, I do think, I mean, obviously, I'm wondering if. Because, last year or earlier this year, I can't remember, we had the fan vote for the next Prime, and of course, Primal won. I don't know if they're going to incorporate that into the comics, but we're definitely seeing shades of Prime. I mean, even those who are close to Prime, like Jazz, are starting to turn against them and stuff. Aileron's questioning stuff, and she's basically his biggest supporter right now. This is the kind of stuff I thought we were going to see in All Hail Optimus, which seemed more than anything just to be a setup to start a thing with Galvatron and everything. And I knew in January they're starting the new storyline, which is they revealed that cover a couple weeks ago that Casey did for the Falling, which I think is going to be Prime falling from being a Prime. There seem to be seeding a lot of stuff about maybe Optimus losing any kind of like some of his relationships and stuff like that. And we already know that, he does doubt the Matrix or, the position of a Prime. I remember back in, I think it was Chaos before the current comics even started. He had that conversation with Hot Rod about how painful it was to join with the Matrix. And Hot Rod was like, no, it actually felt great. So something's coming. Something's coming not so good for Prime.
That's something I hadn't considered. Yeah, that's a deep cut, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Barber going back to those points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Charles isn't here. Someone had to fill in for him, right? Oh, which means I should probably say a fuck for Yoshi. Fuck. Okay.
God damn it, Yoshi.
There you go. Cover it all.
There. All right. Well, I mean, if I were to rate comics, which we don't do on the show, this would kind of be mid-grade.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it gets better. I'm not sure how long this arc is.
Well, I'd say Falling starts in January, so probably expect this for 2 more months.
Yeah, so probably a 4-part arc. So I'm hoping parts 3 and 4 pick up the pace a little bit and are a little bit.
Well, at least
more
it's not a
coherent.
6-parter, because then it would be really slow.
Yeah. So, any last thoughts on this from either of you?
Am I coming on for the next issue? 2 in a row so far.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we'll see 2 more issues of this, and then if that covers any indication, the Falling is going to be pretty good.
So that was a great comic review. Let's go on to media news.
All right, in media news this week, all you Americans now get the chance to watch that fantastic Combiner Wars show that came out on Go 90 last year on YouTube, the same way the rest of the world got to see it while it was coming out. All 8 episodes are now available on YouTube for those who may want to actually watch it again. Also, Machinima released a teaser image for Emissary in regards to their sequel to Combiner Wars, Titan's Return. This image shows Emissary flying what is believed to be Windblade, and they look like they're escaping from Trypticon, who's wreaking havoc on the planet's surface. It's a pretty cool looking image, I guess. I'm looking forward to the idea that Trypticon is doing a Godzilla-like stomp through Cybertron neighborhoods and crushing everything. As long as it's rendered well, but we'll see when it happens. But yeah, this is to show off that Jason David Frank is voicing Emissary. That's about it as far as this particular topic goes. There is a little bit of news coming from the Well of Last Night concept art, and that is that they're showing off some some stuff that was for, like, I guess a destroyed knight, they're calling him. I think this probably went into what would later become Skeletron. There's also a concept for a snake transformer, and it looks pretty cool. And then there's some images of Barricade, and then a tomb. So just some more concept art that's just kind of getting leaked out here. It's last night designs, so, you know, the snake looks pretty neat. I don't know how it would, if it would transform into anything. It's hard to see a robot mode out of that at all. But again, movie designs, they don't really have to play with physics. But yeah, last piece of news is regarding the Bumblebee movie. That is another roundup. So they have taken a lot of the news that they had coming into the week and kind of rolled it all into one big news topic. I haven't read any of this, so I don't really know. Interestingly enough, though, the link goes to a topic on TFW 2005, and this topic has no comments allowed, so they've disabled comments on this. I wonder if the movie news is just getting berated with terrible comments.
Well, it is a roundup, so the pages it's linking to do allow comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you're interested in the Bumblebee movie, there is a link here just pointing it to that. But that's it for media news this week.
All right. I guess we will move on to feedback. In feedback, we have a Facebook message from Lee, and he had a question about, with the reveal of the new Transformers cartoon looking to be very kiddie-centric, do you think that we will ever get the more mature and no, not the Combiner Wars and Titan's Return cartoon that the fandom is crying out for? And it pains him to see things like Voltron and Troll Hunters on Netflix, which are very child-friendly but are not kiddie, knowing that we're not going to be getting that for Transformers in the foreseeable futures. He wants to hear our views on it. And he also asked if we're going to be doing the rest of the First Strike review. So I'll take that first. We are planning on doing the First Strike reviews. It's just been a matter of timing, and some of our recording sessions have been getting really late, so we've just had to push back some of that. But I think we are definitely planning on getting out the rest of the First Strike reviews, at the very least the mainline series and the Optimus Prime tie-in. It's just a matter of time, so they will come out at some point. What do you guys think about the whole Transformers cartoon? I mean, you know, we've had both ends of this. It was like Transformers Prime got really dark, and even the first episode you saw Cliff Jumper being stabbed through the chest by Starscream. So that's one end of the spectrum, and then we have Rescue Bots on the other end, which is super kiddie, and I think RID kind of falls closer to that, but it's kiddie, but it's not nearly what Rescue Bots was. What do you guys think? I mean, are we ever going to get something that's more towards the middle that, you know, is like the Voltron and Troll Hunters, where it's enjoyable for kids, but it's also enjoyable for adults?
I would like to think so. I mean, my answer to this is that we just had Prime, right? Not too long ago. And that was the show for the fans that are older, right? That's the show that we should be able to take a look and hang our hats on and say, that's the show that they made for us. And then with that being said, you come into Rescue Bots is shouldn't even be mentioned. It's not for, you know, older kids. It's definitely not for, you know, adults, you know, and if you're watching it with your own kid, can be kind of mind-numbing to watch it. I mean, I know it gets good reviews, but I can't stand it. So there are shows out there. I think we had our chance, and to keep thinking that we're just going to keep getting it over and over and over again, right, is to be selfish. We had, like, when we had Prime on the air, right, what did the Voltron fans have, right?
Well, for a while there was the Voltron Force.
When was that?
I can't remember. I think it overlapped with Prime.
Okay. And was it any...
But it was more towards the kiddie.
Right.
So, it would probably be on par with RID.
Okay. So that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for something that's more towards the Prime side, right? So if you look at it, Transformers has had their darker, more gritty show recently. And to want them to continue that always is it's not going to work. It's not going to bring people into the franchise. You're not going to ask, and you're not going to expect your your 4 or 5-year-old to sit down and watch Prime all the time because it's the only Transformers show out there, and that you want them to watch Transformers. They need a show that's like Rescue Bots, or they need a show that's like RID, because it's bright colors and it's,
It's accessible.
and it's fun, and they like the dinosaur who's big and clumsy, and that kind of stuff, and it has jokes in it and that kind of stuff. There will be another show, don't get me wrong. The shows like Prime do come around. They can't always be like that, or else they won't bring in any new fans.
I mean, look at the history of Transformers. You have G1, which was accessible to everybody. I mean, they didn't have anything to compare it to. And then you have Beast Wars, which did get dark at times. Beast Machines, which was much darker than Beast Wars. And then after that, you go to RID 2001, which was very light. And the Armada trilogy, which was kind of in the middle. So it goes back and forth. And the animated, which is pretty light. So it fluctuates up and down.
Of course.
So we will get a darker show at some point. And I think that's really kind of what the Combiner Wars Titans Return stuff was designed to do. And Combiner Wars just kind of failed at that. I'm hopeful for Titans Return, but we'll have to see.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the point here, because you see, Lee, while you don't want Combiner Wars or Titans Returns to count, to Hasbro they do count. You have to look at it they're coming from the aspect of, they have the movies going, which they want to get. They, of course, want the ultimate demographic, the 18 to 34s. They want the people with disposable income to come see the movies and come buy the toys and stuff like that. Then go back and you got to look at it from the spectrum of, they have Rescue Bots for kids. And I'm actually going to push back on what Daryl said. I found Rescue Bots to be totally watchable as I went through it with my son. So, and yeah, Cyberverse is probably going to be aimed towards older kids, but probably elementary school or so, because they want to get money from those kids too. Yeah, and I think Daryl said it. Eventually, we'll get something like Prime, but for right now, they've pretty much got their quadrants covered. And again, I agree with you. I wish Combiner Wars and Titans Returns didn't count, but they do, and there's a reason why they're still doing them. I don't know what kind of returns are seeing on that stuff, but I mean, has anyone heard of this Voltron show on Netflix? Is that any good? Anyone know?
It's okay.
Oh, okay. Should do a podcast about that someday.
Yeah. Yeah.
The live action movies are what they deem for, or are what they're counting for their 18 to 34 demographic.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And those get dark.
Sure, they do tackle themes that the cartoons won't.
They don't get deep, but they get dark.
Right. Like I said, and like we've kind of reiterated here, is that the cartoons are cyclical. They come back around. You just got to be patient with them, right? They have different writing teams all the time.
And I think they kind of have to build up that young base every time. And then when that base ages out, they will do something a little bit dark, or like a little bit more mature for that. I mean, we are not the target demo, and we need to all just kind of accept that fact.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we have the comics, which are kind of fulfilling that role, which, I mean, I know we want them to be better, but we really want, animated stuff geared toward us. But I just think that we are no longer the big target demo for that.
Yeah, and don't be too hesitant to give Cyberverse a try. It might actually, looks like, I think Heath Corson is still working on that one, and Margaret Scott's been writing these shows for a while now, and her stuff's good. So, give it a shot at least, and maybe it'll at least scratch some of the itch. And yeah, it's not a more adult
some of
show.
the darker Prime stuff was done by Margaret.
Right, exactly. She knows how to make you think. So who knows? We'll see.
And the last bit of feedback we have is on the website from episode 48 by Dual Mirror Gridwork, who has not sent us feedback in quite a while, and he's making up for it in volume. I'm going to summarize this. I'm sorry, DMG, but you write novels, and unfortunately, we don't have that much time on the show. And the first thing he was talking about was the feedback we had last week about the complaints about the show being split into two shows, and the kind of advertising of the Patreon throughout the show. And he supports the way we're doing it, and agrees with Charles that if you don't like the podcast being split, just wait and listen to them back to back, And he says it's twice as fun. And this is from someone who would listen to one show a week, maybe 2 or 3 times over to take notes. Then he does have 2 questions for us. The first, do you think Transformers toys have a transforming skeleton schematic or plan book or database? Using examples of Titans Return Scourge and Titans Return Highbrow, he's heard that both are so similar in their transformation method. I think they do. I mean, when they're designing one, I think they've said that they design multiple toys in mind. So you get the skeleton and the transformation worked out, and then from there, you design the like pieces that make it one character or another. I mean,
yeah. That's I'm fairly certain that's how it works. They have a skeleton that works for many different reasons.
I mean, with Combiner Wars, they probably had like 5, and that was the entire line.
Yeah, I think it was about 9. Repurposed them many times over.
Yeah, but for the most part, I think they have all the or most of the uses in mind when they're starting the toy, so they don't waste molds or anything.
Yeah, short answer is yes. I'm sure they have a database because they're a company and they design stuff. They kind of have to. And then, yeah, I'm sure they just pull from it and go, okay, well, we're going to do these figures. And, I don't think any of us have any inside information, but it seems to be logical. So,
all right. And the second question he has is, do you think when a Cybertronian transforms, do they actually transform into their disguised components, i.e. nuts, bolts, gears, and parts to say a car? Is it strictly or is it strictly a disguise? If they were taken apart in the disguised forms, would it be car parts or robot parts? So that's more like in the fiction itself. I would like to believe, and I think we've seen before, that like when you open up the car, you actually see the Cybertronian components. Like, so it's not car parts in there. It's whatever the guts of the Transformer are. What do you guys think?
I would tend to agree. I think, I think it's supported in a lot of the fiction that most of the time they do end up looking abnormal to what their real world components would look like if you took them apart. Yeah, I mean, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that, but it makes sense. I can't imagine they would actually have they would actually look like real world vehicles on the inside as well.
I think the exception would be the movies, because when in that first movie, when they opened up Bumblebee's hood, they actually had like the engine and everything. So I'm not sure exactly how it works on the movie line.
But it was an engine that wasn't recognizable to them what they were looking at, right?
Well, no, like the one that Michaela was looking at, she was like impressed by the engine because she recognized it.
Yeah.
And DJ Ronan, like right away, just posted a picture.
Yeah, she knew what she was talking about, no doubt.
What do you think, Jason?
Well, I mean, yeah, sure. I think the movies especially showed that, they could pretty much do whatever they had to. When they just transformed, I'm sure they just had the regular Cybertronian parts, but when they knew that someone was going to be looking inside of them, I'm sure they just switched it real quick or something along those lines. So, yeah, I think it can be broken down into stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks DMG for that. And I think that brings us to the end of the show. Once again, thanks Jason for coming on. Always fun having you on the show.
It's always my pleasure to be on the show.
What do you have to plug? You have Twitter, Podvocacy, so give us all your links.
All the links, baby, all the links. All right, well, of course, on Twitter, you can find me. I am at Jason S. Kirk on the Twitter. I do a show every week with my good friend David. That is at Podvocacy on Twitter. And this week, if you check us out, it's about a week old at this point, but for Halloween, I am watching for the first time ever The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we will discuss that. Yes, there's a lot of movies I have not seen before because I live a sad, sad life. And of course, you can always find me and Jeremy on The Paladins of Voltron. Eventually, we'll record more episodes and get that stuff going again. Look for a lot of me this coming month because it's National Podcast Month, and I'm going to try to participate in as many podcasts as I can. And lo and behold, this is perfect because I got the first and the third right here in these 2 episodes. So thanks for good timing, guys. Good timing. And also check me out. I help out with our producing and doing video on Radio Free Cybertron on There Goes My Money. So I'm sure there'll be an episode of that coming out soon. There's a lot of pre-orders I'm interested in right now, let me tell you. So you may have heard about those on the last episode.
Yeah, we might have added to it.
We might have.
Awesome. And you and David need to get me on to talk Flash sometime.
You and David can talk Flash. That'll be wonderful. I'll be off that week.
Thanks again for coming on, and thanks Daryl for showing up for work.
I had nowhere else to be today.
Yeah, and we will be back next week with hopefully regular cast if we can figure out where Charles and Yoshi went off to. Thanks for listening, everyone, and Yoshi will have all of our links in a few seconds. Bye.
Goodbye. Later.
Thanks for listening to Transmissions. Remember, you can help support the show by donating to us directly via Patreon or PayPal. Once you become a donor, you will receive access to donor-only goodies, like donor-only contests, listening to us record Transmissions live, and getting Transmissions swag at 20% off. You can find links for this at transmissionspodcast.com/support. Subscribing to us on Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play is also a great way to support us here at Transmissions. Every subscription we get helps us get better noticed on those services. Leaving us a comment and 5-star review doesn't hurt either. Be sure to come chat with us on Discord. You will find a link for Discord at transmissionspodcast.com/discord. And of course, you can always send us an email at feedback@transmissionspodcast.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
All right, I have 2 lines. I'm gonna go use the I'm gonna go use the facilities real quick.
Well, why didn't you say that before I hit start recording?
Because I didn't know you were gonna start recording.
Okay, fine. I'm going to.
It'll take 20 seconds.
Okay. So Daryl doesn't like my intro of you, Jason.
Well, but it's accurate.
What have you done to earn that rank?
You donated a lot of money to a podcast.
This is true. I even have proof.
Jason Kirk, Sir Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
I do not recognize your phony rank.
Well, that's okay, because they're phony ranks in England, too.
All right. I'm going to start in 3, 2. Welcome to Mike, if you didn't like it this way, blame Charles.
Yeah, he could have been here. Wanted to watch Walking Dead.
Speak for yourself.
All right. Well, are we ready for this?
Hell yeah, baby. Makes me hot. Makes me hot. Makes me hot. Makes me hot.